Welcome back to ScrubCast. I'm here with Wild King again. How you doing, Wild King?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, it's good to hear from you again. I've actually been playing a lot of Overwatch this week, which has been quite a bit of fun. I managed to hit Diamond, which I'm very proud of, and
Oh,
managed to
congrats.
managed to lose it again today to 2 games with basically people full out throwing. Our Lucio is doing his wonderful. I'm only here for the tickets. Okay, well, good fun. Thank you, Lucio.
Yep.
Um, but other than that, it's actually been a really good week. Have you been playing much Overwatch Wild? What have you been doing?
I've been doing a lot of quick play.
Quick play. Positive experience, negative experience. What are we looking at so far?
It's an experience for sure. It's really all over the place. But playing with a couple people, some of them are GMs, and then we got some bronzes and silvers in there, so it creates some interesting games for sure.
Like I'm
Most
noticing.
of them.
Oh, sorry, just to interrupt. I'm noticing there's a lot of that kind of mixing going on at the moment anyways. Like people are kind of bored of not bored, I guess. Overwatch has kind of settled down into its older age now where people are just they're having fun, I guess, with whenever they log in.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of just the goal of everyone's really waiting for October at this point. I
I mean,
know some people are really hitting the grind because they're looking at the last comp season and they want to get as high as they can.
that's me.
And you got some others that are just gonna sit and wait for the new one.
Like I've been playing a ton of tank, a ton of Sigma, a ton of Diva, a ton of Reinhardt, a ton of Ball, and things feel really, really good right now. How are things over in the quick play world? Everything feels balanced, doesn't it? Or reasonably balanced.
Yeah, it's Overwatch is at one of its most balanced spots it's ever been, and they've been able to hold it for a while. Haven't seen any crazy new strats come up. But I mean, quick plays all over the place. There's next to no team cohesion, and you got your good players are playing around and doing stupid stuff because they know they can. You got everyone else is trying their best to keep up.
Well, now that the beta is over, do you miss it? What's better? Well, of course we've mentioned this before, but is actually is old quick play better than the new Overwatch 2 quick play, or are you
No.
no? So you're still set on 5v5, huh?
Yeah, I think I adapted to it enough that it's weird going back to 6v6. Playing support, I feel like a heal bot for 90% of the games just because I have to or my team dies.
I was certainly playing a little bit of support earlier too, and being a little more aggressive than I probably should be with Ana, and I notice it. It's definitely with that second tank, you have to spend a lot more time sitting in the back, healing, setting things up, which I think is somewhat of a good thing in many sense. Like that's a good, fun style of play style in some situations, but Overwatch should be a much more dynamic game, and it's looking like, at least with our hours in it so far, that Overwatch 2 is certainly going to be hopefully more in line with that vision.
Yeah. Super excited though for those Overwatch 2 supports and kind of what they're doing with the support role makes me very, very excited to play them.
Yeah, I've heard even like a few like rumors around about moving some, not rumors, I guess everyone's just kind of chatting about it, but the developers kind of joking around about moving people around, moving Symmetra over to the support again as usual, but I guess that's probably just another rumor. I think back in the good old days, but another support, obviously we do need that. Like I mentioned last time, I was a little bit disappointed in the amount of stuff Blizzard was showing us, but we haven't seen anything from the new support yet, have we?
No, we haven't, but the big thing is that Moira
Moira change,
that they put
yes.
in right at the end of the beta test.
What's it
If
called?
that's
It's called like
uh, it's a weakening orb.
yeah, it's
I
some kind
don't
of like
know the exact name.
yeah, it's like some damage mitigation thing. I actually didn't play with it that much. Did you manage to mess around with it at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Into a grav, absolutely insane.
Save your whole
Best
team.
combo you have in the game. Because the other team just can't do anything at that point. They have no damage output.
I've heard some people say it's better than the immortality field. Is that close? I've seen some footage. It's I don't know. Being something you can't destroy, obviously, it becomes a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, I'm not sure if it's gonna beat the immortality field, but it's a skill shot. So you actually have to land it. It's a different speed of orb than what we're used to, so you gotta learn that. But if you have a nano blade coming at you and you hit him with your orb and it weakens him, he just doesn't get that value anymore. So I think it's really good for shutting down those hard hitting ultimates, and like a Widow can't one shot you anymore. Hanzo, same thing. So
Yeah, you do have to
really
get
good in those
those.
situations.
You do have to get those skill shots off or the long distance shots off, I guess, on them for that to be
Mm.
able to actually affect them. Do you see that ability becoming meta in the game? Like, there's some abilities that have secretly become meta. Of course, like Briggs, just general uptime with Inspire. But do you see more of a skill shot being something that is super, super common?
I mean, it definitely could be. I I don't know where it's gonna be when they fully release the game, so I can't say for 100% certainty because your Moira's still gonna have to compete with the likes of Ana with Sleep Dart and Baptiste with the Immortality Field. But I definitely see it getting playtime. It's but really there what excites me is they're looking what it seems to me is supports are going to turn more into a buff debuff.
I like that. Yep.
And they're still going to have that healing output, but that doesn't seem to be their number one job anymore. And supports obviously can't keep up with the likes of DPS and tanks for just raw damage output, so giving them another way to affect the battlefield is really what I'm looking forward to with these new supports coming out and see what they do or what they're trying that's new.
Like I mentioned with Symmetra being talked about or being the idea being thrown around as her being a support of some type is actually really interesting because in the old days, you could run Symmetra instead of a support. She was actually in the support category as far as I remember. Yeah, she was. She absolutely was. Um, and many times, as someone who played a lot of Symmetra back in the day, having that extra utility to be able to, well, get your team back to the fight really quickly because that original teleporter or the shields on top of that, or even just the general amount of space that you could take with the sentries allowed us to have a support that was purely utility based. I do hope, fingers crossed, that that new hero that we have is one of those high utility characters. I don't think we need another main healer on the in the game. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I think we're pretty set on. We've got Ana, Moira, Mercy can put out a lot of heals now. Baptiste. I don't think we need much more of that. Having that utility of the speed boost or the CC with Brig, I think getting more into those abilities from the support line is going to be what we're looking at for new supports coming out.
Like I love the idea of running things like well Zenyatta and Lucio. It's just so much fun to run around and kill absolutely everything. And if we can see that be enabled in Overwatch 2 in many more situations, and potentially have characters that well are their own little DPS in their own right, I think would be well. Again, we're only speculating here, so we can get excited on the speculation. But I think would be It's just an incredible change to the pace of Overwatch right now.
Yeah, definitely having something new for the support line.
I
And it's kind of a full rework if they go that route.
Yes, it like I'm still frustrated that they haven't shown us anything at all. I'm gonna point that out. As much as I love to speculate and hang out and talk about all these things, it does seem a little bit weird that Blizzard hasn't even given us artwork or a name, or like maybe they have, maybe they do the traditional Blizzard thing of like it's gonna be a hero,
Somewhere.
it's gonna be a hero secret, yeah, some receipt for some store somewhere in the middle of Busan, has the name of the character in it somewhere. But I don't know if that's enough. I think it's a little bit frustrating. Um, but I do want to bring up one thing. Of course, I mentioned this before. Uh, Junker Queen. At the very end of the
Yeah.
beta, do you still think she's? Do you still think she's strong?
I think she's strong in her own right. I don't think she stacks up against the other tanks.
I don't think she stacks up at all. I don't think she stacks up at all, especially up against Sigma. I think Sigma shuts her down so hard, and it's the point where, well, actually, I think Sigma's probably going to be has to be looked at anyways because he just seems to shut down absolutely everything. Um, but the Junker Queen just doesn't. Anytime you put a shield in front of her, it's it's the end. As long as the tank knows what they're doing. Um, are there any major like compositions you see being weak against the Junker Queen?
Ooh. Probably say the biggest thing I've seen that's weak against Junker Queen would be either Hog comps or a Reinhardt comp, where both teams' goal is to really get on top of each other and put out just raw damage.
Yes, Ryan Lucio is frightening.
But I don't think it matches up against Junker Queen. As long as she can hit her abilities, she can sustain that fight past the Reinhardt and win the fight off of it.
Like I just don't see in terms of counter picks where like of course it's really dangerous to like throw an extra 200 health on a tracer and go in, right? But when you run something like a Widowmaker, if you get a really good Widowmaker on the enemy team, there is no way in hell you're gonna win that game with Junker Queen. At least I don't
Oh,
see any
not at all.
opportunity. Same with things like Soldier. Same with things like even Ash. Man, I've been playing Ash a few times up against Junker Queen, and she's on fire half the time. Like, it's
Yeah,
it's not too much of a challenge. So
she
overall,
doesn't have that ability to block that every other
yes,
tank does.
I think that damage mitigation is probably something that I think maybe the original developers knew that. Um, but it's something that I think the newer developers are experimenting with a little bit, and we'll see where the buffs go. Do you see anything? What could they change to her to make her more in line with all the rest of the tanks?
Um, that's tricky. Cause to really change up her kit, it almost feels like they pigeonholed themselves a little bit for rework sort of thing. But having something that is damage mitigation, whether it's like a slight shield to stuff where she can block for even a short amount of time where she can block something, or I don't think we need any more actual like Diva Matrix or Sig-E, and now with Orisa, I think we've kind of filled those out. I don't think we want to look that way, but maybe something along the lines of like Doomfist's shield, his block,
Something
could
that
be
yeah
beneficial for her.
can stick her in between the enemy and her team. I think that's the
Yeah.
big weakness right now is she can't when you stick her in between the enemy and your team. She doesn't do that well. Okay, well, I don't want to hang on too much because of course beta's not up anymore. We can't play her at all. Of course, we only got the last bit of it to play her too, or we only got the last little week there to kind of settle in with the rest of the changes and everything like that. So nothing is confirmed. Well, let's just jump back to the original Overwatch because again, I've been playing quite a bit of it. Is there anything that's standing out to you recently? I've got a few small things, but quick play obviously is um, a chaotic mess. But is there a meta there? Is there something? Is there a reason why you've been playing quick play? Actually, that's another question.
Just I've been getting tired of comp. Longer games, once you get in, you commit, and I've had a lot of stuff going on, so having the quick games, quick turnover, it makes it a little easier for me to step away if I need to. But as far as like a meta in quick play, not at all.
Nothing that's Well, how about this? Let's turn this on its head a little bit and make it a one quick tip trick. If you were to pick one hero to play in quick play to dominate your quick play enemies, what would it be?
McCree.
McCree right now? McCree's the go-to. Well, what's
McCree's always the go-to.
Cassidy? Sorry, Cassidy.
Sorry.
Like McCree.
Old habits.
Exactly. I'm never gonna not call him McCree. It's just the way it is. Um, have you been playing him at all, or is it just that you've been up against him and it's still something that's just dominating your games?
Just as a character, he has that high damage output with a stun, with a movement ability. He's a very well-rounded character, and whichever team has a McCree or has a McCree that can hit shots, I'm still doing it. It's Cassidy. I'm sorry. They just win the game. Unless your team can shut him down, that'll just always come out on top.
He's definitely one of those characters that needs a good team composition to take down a good McCree. Uh,
Yeah.
So if you hear that, well, definitely is going to be your go-to, and he's basically always been the go-to in at least mid-tier games. You'll never go wrong having a McCree that can at least hit their shots. Other than that, Wild, is there anything in particular that stood out to you from all of the Overwatch world right now? Um, I'm just playing the game as I usually do, enjoying myself, loving shooting stuff. I don't think there's any major news or anything that's been recent. What's standing out to you at the moment?
Uh, The amount of people that are leaving comp.
Yeah.
I'm I've been looking for groups and other stuff and quick play, and I can consistently find groups that are all high diamond to masters and above for an entire 6 stack and looking for group. So that tells me a lot of people are stepping away from comp and just either waiting it out or gonna stick to quick play coming into Overwatch 2.
And I think everybody has their own reasons why, but I mentioned this a long time ago. It's just that the competitive ladder itself isn't that fun. It's like we all love competitive. As I've mentioned many times too, we're a competitive game. We could not give a damn whether or not we got some fancy point or something. We want to play the best games, the highest or the highest skill games, the most at stake games we possibly can, and get better while doing it. But there's no real. It doesn't feel like we're climbing a ladder anymore. But I think maybe that originally was kind of a bit of a smokescreen. Like, competitive hasn't changed. I think we've just seen so much of it that it's. I think everybody's seen so much of it that everybody's found different reasons to walk away.
Yeah, and it's a ladder, but with a lot of people coming into the game that are new and just now learning, or a lot of those old skilled players that are leaving the game for other things, it's it's a ladder, but it's missing a lot of the rungs that used to be there.
It's so awkward. It's so awkward now. Brand new players everywhere because, of course, the hype for Overwatch 2 is slowly building. But then also, all the people. It's just. You get some people who are dedicated and know how the game works, and other people that just don't care. Again, I had a game earlier today. Someone just jumping in for the tickets, and then like literally through the whole time. So, of course, that's always happened, but we're all slowly getting somewhat tired of it. But Overwatch is still fun. Overwatch, the game itself, is still a blast. And Wild, as I usually ask you at the end of these all the time, if you had one message that you'd love to give to the developers, one message that you could walk right up to, was it, I can't remember his name, Aaron Keller, right? No.
Yeah,
Yes, Aaron
I
Keller.
think.
What would you tell him? What would you tell him?
Can we go for August 4th?
Yeah, earlier date, please. Just get it out there. We want to play the game.
We're ready.
We're ready. Absolutely. All right. Well, Wild, as usual, thank you so much for coming out to our world famous podcast. No, we're getting there, building something together. It's been good so far. I do hope we have some more content to talk about in the future too. Like, maybe I got some ideas. I'll start pitching them to you later as we go on, so we can build out a little bit more of maybe like a community ladder or something we can play around with and figure it out. I know obviously the skills all over the place, but I'll talk about that stuff later. If you guys like what you heard, patreon.com/scrubclub, go check it out. I have some goals for a new some goals set up. So if we hit those goals, we get a new kind of community event day, community practice day, also some more monthly Minecraft stuff and whatnot. So definitely go check it out. Wild, again, thank you so much. I will see you all in the next one. Have a good one, guys.